All right, we are on air. It is Thursday, January 25th today. And this is a quick check-in on community outreach for Backdrop CMS. Got a couple of things to talk about today. First and foremost, the website has new homepage design, which is great. Based on the feedback from our recent survey, I think we need to focus on improving the experience of selecting module themes and layouts. We've got a bunch of issues in the queue that go back kind of a while about how that's a less than perfect experience. We also have some better designs from the initial design round we had for selecting module themes and layouts that included things like screenshots and filters to be able to search down for exactly what you're looking for. And those things will fit together nicely with some work we're going to be doing on core to be able to organize modules in ways in the module page in Backdrop itself. That we hopefully will be able to fit those together by using things like tags and better organization in various different ways. So that's what we're planning on doing with the website. It's not necessarily outreach related, but I think it's relevant because people are currently looking at Backdrop to try and figure out how close they are to being able to upgrade a Drupal 7 site to a Backdrop site. And one of the ways they do that is by searching for modules that they're currently using on Drupal 7. And if they use our module search interface and it's a frustrating experience, number one, that's not good in terms of selling Backdrop. But number two, they also might not get the information they need about whether those modules are ready or not. And in a lot of cases, modules people are searching for are things they don't necessarily need on Backdrop anymore because they've already been merged into core. And if we aren't just displaying that information to them when they search for that module, that's also not valuable. We do already have a content type on the site for modules that do get moved into core, so that we already have a little informational blurb that says, as of this version of Backdrop, you no longer need to install the Path Auto module because that's included in Path module in core. So we've already got the content there. We just need to figure out how to get that to show up when somebody does a search for Path Auto. So we've got some work there that I think that if we can fix that experience, it'll help guide more people to the correct answer about whether whether Backdrop is ready for them to be able to move to it or not. And that hopefully will help spread Backdrop. Let's see, newsletter. So next newsletter, which should be going out this week, maybe tomorrow. I'll check the schedule. End of January, which is about now, should be, I don't remember what the topic was. But I think there was a paragraph in it about how we want feedback from people and how we'd like to do what they want us to do. Our newsletter issue is very out of date. And it doesn't have a lot of meat in it, but I think don't know. Maybe it's the one about 1.9. Obviously, I haven't read the copy. It's in my inbox waiting for review, but I don't have access to the document yet. But we did release Backdrop 1.9 last week, and so we need to tell people about it. But we don't want to send the newsletter until after we release Backdrop version 1.9.1, because we do have a couple of little bug fixes that we want to include that'll make the upgrade process from 1.9 to 1.9 or 1.8 whatever to 1.9 whatever a little smoother. So the plan is to merge, I think there's 2 bug fixes that we want to get in. Kata 1.9.1 tag, we'll push that tag to Pantheon, so people on Pantheon will be able to use the button to update, and then we'll send the newsletter. So everybody will get the newsletter and they'll come and take a look and they can update right away. So that's the plan. And then I think that we're hoping to do that over the weekend, this weekend, or on Monday or something to do the release. But it's been about 2 weeks since the release, so it's about time. But yeah, and then Tom, thank you so much for writing up the blog post. It highlights a couple of the new features and a couple of other little changes that happened in Backdrop 1.9. And something that's also kind of interesting about this most recent release is that in the world of Drupal, if we hadn't gotten very much done, we wouldn't have released the next version of Drupal. But because this is Backdrop and we have a schedule and we release on schedule, we put the stuff that we have in and we ship it. And if other stuff hasn't gotten done, then that's fine. We'll push it to the next release. So we had a lot of issues that did get pushed to the next release. I think it's also pretty telling of what our priorities are. When, initially we had scheduled a bunch of stuff that we thought was super important, but nobody was working on it, then maybe that's not what's important. And if people are working on other stuff, then that becomes more important. And so right now we have a lot of activity around creating better translation experiences. And so all of that stuff is getting filed for our next release, whereas the stuff this past release we thought was super important to people and nobody was working on it. So I think just kind of having a good pulse on what it is people are working on and what it is people need will keep our priorities in line too. So if it's like, okay, the stuff we thought was important isn't, but there's other stuff we didn't know was important, we'll now change gears a little bit. So this was a good release. It was a good example of releasing anyway, and then readjusting our priorities for the next version. Let's see. Blog posts. As I said, Tom, thanks for your blog post. We're going to have some more posts coming up pretty soon here about the Software Freedom Conservancy. We have gotten all of the documents we needed signed, and so hopefully we'll have a couple of posts coming up introducing the Conservancy, explaining what our relationship with them will look like, and then hopefully if we get our financial stuff in order, we'll be able to set up a way for people to do tax-deductible donations to Backdrop, which is something they haven't been able to do before. So that's really exciting too. Videos. So I don't think I've talked to you since last week, Tom, but you were starting to make some progress on a list of things to make videos about. Do you want to give us an update on that?
I'd like to give you an update if I hadn't been out of the office for about 4 days.
Yeah.
So yeah, good intentions, but nothing yet. I did go through and set up the mics and everything and the software, and so it's all good to go. And I went through the features that we were talking about last week. I think Gregory was in on that.
Yep.
Just to try and pick and choose the top 10. What I need to do is bounce that off you or somebody in the. Gregory had talked about being willing to bounce off which ones that he thought should be floated to the top. So excuse my voice. So I can start on those. So this week was the getting prep for the interview. Next week will be get some videos to you.
Yeah. So do you want to give people an update on what that interview was about today? That could be fun.
The interview was with Hacking Culture with Matthew Tift, and it's centered around Backdrop, the culture, and why people like me would be interested in working with the Backdrop project. There was a lot of questions. I don't know exactly how he's going to spin it all together, but it sounded a lot like how to get involved in the Backdrop project. What would be required of people to do so. Why I would have been interested in doing so, and how welcoming you all have been. So it was good all around. We'll see what the end product is and what I actually sound like with this crazy voice.
Well, don't feel urged to make videos with a crazy voice. If you feel sick, I would definitely encourage you to rest and prevent from getting sicker.
Yeah, I'll wait till I get my beautiful radio voice back.
But thank you for talking to Matt today. I know he's been super interested in ideas about Backdrop and its culture, and it would be great to have all of that documented for other people to hear too. So appreciate it.
It did sound like that was the beginning of a series that he was going to do as well, that it wasn't just one isolated piece.
Yeah, I think he's super fascinated by why like non-tech people are drawn to tech culture. And I think that it's something that I personally wondered about too, being a tech person drawn to tech culture, and then seeing all of the wonderful people who are around me who are not necessarily like me, which I find really great. But yeah, it'll be an interesting piece to hear how he puts it all together. So very exciting. Okay, so that tails nicely into our section here on Backdrop in the News, which is obviously we're getting Backdrop on the Hacking Culture podcast. We also, I sent an email to the people in charge of the PHP weekly newsletter, and I'm not sure if any of you are on that or not, but that should be going out with an announcement about Backdrop 1.9, which will be great. And I think that's it for what's going on right now. We are working on organizing, and this actually feeds nicely into events as well. We're working on organizing a Civi camp here in the San Francisco Bay Area, probably in May. And I'm hoping that we'll have a very strong Backdrop presence there, being that it's in our backyard here, and that Civi and Backdrop work so well together. So I've kind of offered to help, but they seem to have a lot of help already. So I'm kind of there for moral support at the moment. I'm really excited about that happening in this area, and having more of a, they don't have a lot of camps. They have Civi cons usually, but they haven't had camps for a while. So kind of getting some camps back on the map will be good. And it'll be a good place to kind of test Backdrop in another environment too, to see, you know, if the people who are interested in Civi are interested in Backdrop and how we can kind of do things together. So that'll be fun. More in the near future, there is Drupal Camp Florida, which is coming up at the end of February. I think there are going to be a bunch of people from Backdrop there. We are offering a full day Backdrop training, as well as a Backdrop session. So if you're interested in either of those things and live in the Florida area, that's something to consider. This is in Orlando. There's going to be a Drupal camp in Chicago in the beginning of March. There will be one in the Northeast. The Northeast Regional Developer Summit will be the end of March. And then at the tail end of the month, we have San Diego Drupal Camp in San Diego. So there's a bunch of Drupal events and other tech stuff coming up here in the next few months too, as the season kicks off. So if anyone's interested in finding out about events where you can learn about Backdrop, there is an events section on our website. If anyone has an event you want people to come to, or they might be able to learn about Backdrop, you can also post them on our website. We review those every week and make sure new ones get published. Let's see. I think that's it for our weekly agenda today. But we are always interested in learning other ways Backdrop should be working on outreach. Right now, our blog and our newsletter and our Twitter are kind of our main avenues. We have explored other options like advertising, but we have a couple of blockers to figuring out how to actually get those going. So if anyone has any thoughts about other things we could be doing to help spread the word, we are all ears. We have an issue queue. I know that's not the best place for outreach related tasks, but that's what we have in the Backdrop Ops group if you want to post issues. And it's actually the backdropcms.org queue is where we have issues about outreach. So if you have any ideas, you can post them there. You can always join us in Gitter. You can tweet at us. Any way you can think to get in touch with us, we are interested in hearing about it. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Tom?
No? I'm good.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and wrap this meeting, and then we will meet in half an hour to talk about development tasks for Backdrop. So maybe we'll see you there. Bye.